Hey guys, welcome to another deck profile at Play the Game. So today I'm bringing you a Genesis deck profile, and then I'm your host Trace. We got Jesse on the camera, and then Brian on the side.
Hey, what's up, guys?
You all remember Brian and Jesse? He's in like every video.
Yes, every single video.
So the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to start with the grade zeros. I'm going to try to go fast, because like this is a deck you really have to play with to understand. Like, it's pretty technical. Like, okay, for my starter, I use Prey Angel. She's the Legion starter, so if your Vanguard's in Legion, you can shove this into Soul Charge 3, and give your Vanguard plus 5,000. So this also works with Witch Legions, which is pretty nice, or any other Legion you have. So it's a good recharger, because it's Soul Charge 4 and plus 5.
That's a pretty good starter. I love it.
And then for the trigger lineup, it's pretty common, like everyone else. 4 heal, but it has to be Regalia, because your deck is Regalia. 4 Regalia crit. 4 Regalia stan. What she does, well this does, not the she, is when it's Soul Blasted and put into the drop zone, you can choose one of your Vanguards with Regalia in its card name and give it plus 5,000. So this is really good for buffing up your Vanguard at any point of the game. As long as it's in the Soul, as I'm saying.
Yes.
The 4 stand, this is not a Regalia card, but this does keep you alive. Like, you'll go through the deck as fast as Dark Irregulars. So, yeah. Having this is like, it's GB1. So, at the end of phase, you can send this back to the top of your deck, return your entire drop zone, and shuffle. And then the last effect is, if you were to send 10 back by this effect, you can draw 1 card.
Nice.
Which is like, okay, oh, refill, draw a card, and gain more defense.
It's 1 for 1, you know, minus.
Yeah, really good stand trigger. I love it.
It's pretty generic trigger lineup, but it supports the deck. Like, this whole game is like mostly reliant on your trigger lineup, if you hit it or not. For the grade 1s, I got 4 of Next Skull. Well, what this does is it's kind of like a mix of main and end phase. This is choose 3 normal units with Regalia in its card name and send them to the bottom of your deck in any order. So that's the cost. So the way this activates is, if you were to Soul Blast during this turn, you can pay the cost. If you do, you can draw 1 card and Soul Charge 1. So not only are you resending deck back, you are also gaining a card for defense and refilling the soul at the same time. This is really nice. Like, if it was non-Regalia specific, this would make the deck completely busted. Like, as well as normal units.
It's good. It's good plus.
Like,
Draw a card.
They really balanced this card. So if they messed up on like any wording, like, I could have abused the hell out of that. For the Sentinel lineup, 2 Quintet Wall. It has Regalia name, so it is also chargeable from drop. So it's Quintet Wall. Superior Call Fire to Guardian. And then the 2 of the new Sentinel, it's not a Regalia card, but it is one of the new supports. It has a Revelation ability on Vanguard. So check top, Soul Charge, or leave it on top. When you place this on Guardian Circle, you can Soul Blast X amount of cards. And for X amount of cards you Soul Blast, you can Superior Call Guardians from the top of your deck. So let's say you have like a soul of like 20 or something. Yeah, you could Soul Blast 20 and Superior Call 20 Guardians from the top of your deck and build up drop zone.
That's a really good.
That's like
really good.
like
Sentinel.
So you're telling me to deck out?
I'm telling you to deck out, but because this Skull exists and Dreaming Dragon, you will not die. You will never die of deck out unless you don't do anything about it.
Run that card, it's busted.
I don't run it at 4 because, like, if you run it at 4, it's gonna be harder to control your soul. Cause like it is like a Legion and Stride deck, so
yes.
both worlds, 2 of both worlds.
Yeah, whatever you guys want to use in your decks, just
if you find yourself with like gigantic amounts of soul, 4 is okay. I'd rather run 3 if that's the case, but like, or if you don't find yourself building up drop zone, run 4 Regalia Quintet Walls, which are pretty nice. Now this is a Sentinel, but we can't exactly call it a Quintet Wall. So what I like to call it is a Sentinel Soul Guard. It's a Sentinel using the soul to guard, essentially. So it does make sense as a term, but if it's still technically considered a Quintet Wall, then that's fine.
Yeah.
2 of Shiny Angel. What she does is she's a recharger. When placed on rearguard circle, you can soul charge up to 3 Regalia units into your soul. So this is really good, like to balance out your soul if you need like a certain number, or if you're out of soul, you get your minimum cost of 3 to play with. And here's 2 Hati for the last of the gray ones. I run Hati because 1, it gains power for soul blasting. So like this deck is like a really good balance of soul charge and soul blasting. So having these as well, in addition to like all the combo plays later on, will support you. So like you could either go soul blast route or have both or have the other one. But this will become a really good booster in the end, no matter what. Like,
yeah, it's a really good power boost. I'm not gonna lie.
For the grade 2 lineup, this is a Legion mate, Nern. She's like the stand trigger. If she's soul blasted from soul, give one of your Vanguard Regalias plus 5,000. So this is really good on offense, especially if you're in Legion. Like it is 15, but you have the stand triggers to make up for that.
And it could also be used for defense as well with your new Quintet Wall.
Which is really nice. Like let's say you have just 3 soul, right? And then you use a secret LC, and you're only able to blast 3 because that's all that's in there. It gives you plus 15 per minute until the end of the turn. Like, it's so good, like, having this combo play available. Next up is the grade 2 version of Shiny Angel, Hemera. She's also Legion mate, but I do not have the Legion card in this build. What she does is choose up to 3 Regalias in your drop zone, soul charge up to 3 when placed on rearguard. Pretty standard, like, control your soul any way you need to. Next up is the promo Hesperus. This is really good because like it also gives you a lot of on-hit pressure and gets rid of problem cards. So let's play you're playing Dimension Police. You need to get rid of like a Laurel. If they let it hit, it's goodbye Laurel, and they have to dig through the deck to get another one. Like I only run 2 because on-hit pressure in this deck doesn't really feel that right to me. If you want to run more, I suggest 3. 3 is a good number for like this game. Oh yeah, I have to explain it. It says when it's soul blasted, like all the other cards, give your Vanguard the ability of the auto. So when the Vanguard attack hits, you can retire 1 unit of your choosing. This does stack as well. Yes. So if you soul blast 2, that's 2 retires. So if anyone tries to tell you any different, that's not right. The last of the grade 2s, I have 2 Freya. This is an older card. This is Legion format. What she does is when your Vanguard Legions, you can counterblast 1 to soul charge 3, and this unit gains plus 5. So this is really nice backup. It is also a Regalia unit, which is why it's in here. It is soul chargeable, it is a power offense, it's a recharger as well, which is a really good toolbox ability. I only run 2 because like you're not always going to Legion. As for the grade 3s, it's Legion, so CEO Yggdrasil, and it mates with Nerd. It's Seek the Mate, attacks for 21. When its Vanguard is ability, when it attacks a Vanguard, first of all, it also gains plus 3 if there's another unit in the same column. So if you're already in the Legion, it is already plus 3, so it attacks for 23. And then Soul Blast 6, when this unit declares attack, you can give your Vanguard plus 1 crit, and your opponent is unable to guard with grade 1s or higher from their hand. Which is really nice. It was really nice in Legion format because nobody was able to block this gigantic column because your grade 2 Nerns and your stand triggers, they reached like 70,000, which was an impossible number to block. And by the time you did this, it was already like 4 or 5 damage each side. So they're always like dead or something. Yeah.
Dude, what do you mean I can quit that wall?
Sure. Guard Restrict Quintet Wall? Seems legit. Yeah. So this is like the key card of the deck, for the main deck at least.
Yes, it's really nice.
Next I run 2 of the new support, Nexera Regalia for Thandis. She's a break stride. The reason I only run 2 is because like we need an additional card support. One single card would help us. Like, okay, its active ability, once a turn, you can Soul Blast 3, and then you can give all your units in the front row with Regalia in its card name a auto skill, Vanguard or Rearguard. So when their attack hits, you can check the top 2 cards, add 1 to your hand, and Soul Charge 1. So this is really good first turn if you're the first player. So it's like Soul Blast 3. At the very least, you'll get Soul Charge 1 and 1 card in hand extra. So it's like a stride turn basically. You gain 3 cards. The Break Stride's ability is if a unit with Regalia in its original card name, so it can't just be any other stride, it has to have Regalia in its card name. So like even though it shares the name with the heart, it has to be in the text. Like, okay, so when you're Vanguard with Regalia with strides, every time you Soul Charge, you can give up to 3 units in your front row plus 1,000. So that's really good if you plan to Soul Charge often during your main phase. And especially good with the new stride. Like, I'll explain that later. It's pretty ridiculous. I didn't like 4, so I decided to put 2 Minerva. This is the re-standard of the deck. This is just something to fall back onto. It also has Regalia name, so it's chargeable. So when you use it as stride fodder, you can recharge it. So what it is Limit Break 4, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 3, and then re-stand this unit and gets +5 after the battle. Which is pretty good. It is a pretty heavy cost for this deck since like hand resource is almost non-existent. Because like this is a rush, this is an offensive rush. And then it has Crossrite. If you have Angelica and Soul, it's +2,000. Yeah, bro. This is just a Tekken card though. So I run Yatagarasu. It's really nice because every time you guard for Yatagarasu, you can Soul Charge those units when they hit the drop zone. So it's like you're not wasting cards and you're building up Soul pretty fast. This is also a good first turn ride since you can't stride on the first turn. And then Limit Break 4. After the battle, you can Soul Blast 9 and stand 2 rear guards, which is pretty nice. Even though you already run stands, sometimes you don't see them as often as you'd like. So if you need like your front row units to attack again, it comes back. Or if you need boosters for your front row attackers, it happens. For the G deck, I run 2 G Guardians, which is, this one is if Soul Charge 3 cards from your drop zone. They have to be exactly 3 in order to gain the plus. And then give it +5,000. So it's a standard 20k shield with the gimmick for the clan. I run 2 Battle Maiden Hanasatsuki. She, if you choose a rear guard on the field, on your side of the field, and if there's a copy of that card in your soul, this game +10,000. So this is really good because like you don't really have too much defensive capability. So if you find yourself against like a Gold Paladin, which reaches gigantic numbers, Royal Paladin, which can reach gigantic numbers and attacks, it could save your butt in certain cases. This is just something to fall back onto. Yeah. I run 2 Regalia Demeters. Well, this isn't Demeter, but it's a proxy. But I say 2. So this is a recharger for your Legion mate or whatever Regalia heart you have. So if you have a Regalia heart, you can, when this unit declares attack, Counterblast 1, Soul Charge 3 for every heart you have. So if you're in Legion, that's 6. And then if you have Legion, you can unflip 2. If it's not, it's unflip 1. So this is your counter charge. If you somehow counterblasted too much, this helps you get out of that pickle. 2 Van Angander. This is the Fenrir card, I know, but this is for mid-game, really. Because like I find myself needing to heal mid-game mostly. So when it declares attack, Soul Blast 6, persona flip the card, and then during your drive step, so your opponent has to guard first. You can check the top 4 cards, order them any way you wish, and on the top and bottom. So there could be 0 on top, and then all 4 on the bottom. So this really helps you control like heal triggers if you need them. Because like most of the time, people will perfect guard this. So it's like, okay, I'll bait out the perfect guard to heal mid game and give me some more time to build resources or keep me alive longer. Next we got Great Angel Doombrace. This is the offensive stride, I would say. So its act ability once a turn. Soul Blast 3. You can choose 2 units, give them +5, and Soul Charge 3. It's pretty basic. Like you'll have 14k rear guards by themselves, and then if you had Hati in the back, it gains +3 if you pay the cost. So it's +8 for each column, basically. But granted, you gotta make sure you have those rear guard columns. Next up, I run Tier. What he does is once a turn, you can Soul Blast 3. It's an act ability. Check the top card, place it on the top or bottom of your deck, so you can deck control 1 card. And every time this unit reveals a grade 1 or higher in its drive step, you may Soul Charge 3. So this is another type of recharger. The only problem is it's not Regalia. Like if it was Regalia, we would not even have Demeter in this build. We would find something else to fill in the gap. It's pretty freaking nice too, because like Soul Charge 9 during your drive step would be crazy. So if you don't happen to trigger, you don't minus. You do get to do something about it. And then last but not least is Prehistoric Regalia. This is the new card. It is amazing. It is hilarious. If you managed to pull it off, congratulations. You just did one of the hardest things to do in this deck. And you managed to destroy your opponent. Like, let's say this happens. See, if you're on the break stride, and you meet the requirements, so first of all, you want to make sure you have a Regalia card face up in your G zone. So when this is placed on Vanguard Circle, Counterblast 1, Persona Flip, and then Soul Charge all Regalia units in your drop zone. If it's not all, but like you can Soul Charge as many Regalia units as you want. So like the whole deck is Regalia. By the time you get to this, you'll have like 16 or more Regalia units drop zone. And the combo with the Break Stride, because it has Regalia in its original text, you can choose up to 3 units and they get +1 for each Soul Charge. So if you Soul Charge 16 with this ability, +16, +16, +16, your front row rear guards are ridiculous already. And then the rest of the text is if you have 2 or more Regalia units face up in your G zone, you can give this Vanguard an act ability. It's Soul Blast 6. You can give this card +10k and 1 crit. So it's an act ability, not once per turn. So if you Soul Charge like 24, that's 6, 6, 6, 6. There's 24. You did it 4 times, +44 crit. On top of that, you have Soul Blast units that give you benefits like Nern, Hesperus, Nern, your stand trigger. These are +5s, these are +5s, these are hit skills. It gets pretty crazy. Like, the play with this, like, everyone's like telling me that, oh, this is just PGable, it doesn't really matter, it's like, it's not threatening at all. Well, that's not the point. The point is, like, you're supposed to play the game to the point where you can bait out your opponent's PGs. And then play this afterwards. Because, like, once you know that your opponent's low on PGs, this is when you want to go into this. That's why we have other strides to fill in the gap. So that you're not wasting time, you're building resources. And this is pretty damn crazy. Like, Jesse here has felt the terror of this before. Like, yeah. I swung for 120 something, just this center column, and it hit for 5 crit. Yeah. Like, he was already at 5 damage. Like, if we went past 6 damage, he would have been at 10.
pretty much this game's a bait game
Yeah.
because of PGs and GG Guardians. You just bait.
Now, granted, like, this deck isn't as defensive as you'd like it to be. I do have, like, other cards to swap into. Like, once we get, like, certain support, like, if we get a Regalia G Guardian, this deck is set. This deck would go off every fucking time. Or if we got another offensive strider with Regalia name, we'd be fine. We'd be totally fine.
So good.
So, like, off to the side,
so
have other
good.
stuff, like, if you want to tech in another type of grade 3 and you don't have the Minerva or whatever, Yatagarasu, this is a promo from Springfest. It's pretty good. Its activability is, Soul Blast 6. This turn, this unit gets 10k in crit, so it's pretty offensive. But if you have 2 or more soul, or is it 2 or more? Let's see, if the number of cards in your soul is 2 or less, you put the top card of your deck into your damage zone. So everyone thinks this is bad, but it's really easy because this deck is all about control.
Nice.
And then its auto ability is Counter Blast 1. When its unit's placed on rear guard, you can soul charge 3, and if there's 10 or more, you damage yourself. Again, it's not hard to control, and obviously you don't even have to pay the cost. So even if you just call it or write it, it doesn't mean you have to damage yourself. It's a good Tekken card if you want to go budget, but I do have 3 Regalia draw triggers off to the side. If you feel like you hit draw triggers often, this is pretty good because like it'll build up your defensive capabilities. Also, it has a draw trigger skill, so when it's placed on Guardian Circle, you can soul charge 1 from the top of your deck. So it is another way to control your soul and defense, draw more hand. It's up to you. It's player preference. And again, about player preference, if you don't feel like Secret LC is good or Quintet Walls is good enough for you, you could also go back to Perfect Arts. I only have Kushinada. I'm not sure if there's another Sentinel for Genesis. I think that's it.
There's the Unflipper, but I think Regalia.
Well, this isn't Regalia, but if the other...
Well, you can do the Unflip as well, so...
If the other Sentinel is a Regalia unit, it would be very beneficial to this deck.
Yeah.
Because you can soul charge on top of it. Well, those are just little side options. Like, they have 2 more off to the side in case, like, I want to just keep break striding. But, like, it's pretty hard, in my opinion. Because, like, this won't come out to, like, your 3rd or 4th stride. Because, like, this, for me, this is always 1st stride, Demeter. And then you go into anything else you need. Mid-game will probably be your 2nd stride, so that you can heal and save some time. Well, that's the deck. Thanks for watching. This is Trace Play the Game. Please consider subscribing and leave your comments in the below.
Thank you.